Yeah, so if you see this map of global ocean where nutrient concentration has been shown, you can see so generally the whole it is showing blue color, so their concentration of these nutrients are very low. But some of the areas you can see where this in Pacific and entire Southern Ocean where color is very warm, these areas are having very high concentration of nutrient even after bloom season. Even after bloom season, these nutrients are not utilized. And means as soon as you put some nutrient in the ocean, immediately it will be taken by the phytoplanktons and productivity will be there. But in these areas, you can see that even despite you are having huge amount of nutrient, there the productivity is quite low. So these areas are called high nutrient, low growth region. People in the beginning, they were not very sure why it is happening like that. Then later on, it was realized that this is happening because of availability of iron. In some area, iron is available, and then productivity is high and these nutrients are getting utilized. But many of the areas, nutrients, this iron is not there. And because of lack of iron, this is impacting the productivity. It is impacting the ecosystem dynamics. And hence, to study, become very important to know about the iron and other trace metals which are really limiting to the productivity. So when people realize that there is a very important role these micronutrients are playing, they wanted to study the ocean for this. And but that time it was found that the data which exists in the ocean is very less. And whatever data is there, I think, because concentration is too low, it is very difficult to measure, and hence the data earlier which was produced was not of the great quality. So international community thought to initiate a program to study these micronutrients in the entire ocean, like what has been done during the Geossex period about the nutrients and all. So similarly, they wanted to map the entire world ocean to for this trace metal concentration, and to know from where they are coming, what are the sources, how they are behaving in the ocean, what is the internal cycling, because they will be impacted by the oceanographic process or biogeochemical process which is happening in the ocean. So there was an ambitious program started, I think 2007 about that time. And since then, a lot of discussion were there globally, and we started to think about this to do in the Indian Ocean, because Indian Ocean is very special compared to the Pacific and Atlantic. Actually, first of all, a lot of people, international groups are working in the Pacific and Atlantic, whereas the Indian Ocean, not many groups are working. And Indian Ocean, because of its situation, you see, it is landlocked from the north. It is not connected pole to pole. We have monsoon seasonal reversal of the ocean current and wind. We have huge amount of material coming from the continental rivers like Ganga, Brahmaputra, Indus, Irrawaddy and all. We are getting huge, this Bay of Indian Ocean is getting a huge amount of dust contribution. So altogether, actually, it is making this ocean very special. And moreover, the data were very less to say anything about the oceanographic process pertaining to this geotraces and sources and internal cycling now. So we started a work to do this trace metal studies and micronutrient studies, and related to that isotopic study to trace the different water masses and to trace the sources of these elements. And the work is still continuing because it will take some time. Huge ocean and a lot of data, not many groups are working. So still it is continuing, but whatever data is there, I think already huge amount of data, and we have developed some understanding, which I will be sharing part of that. So if you see it was just, this program was just started with the help of the Ministry of Earth Science, as I told you. And we till now, we have covered this entire Indian Ocean up to about 30 degrees south. Significant sampling has been done. Of course, we have not covered beyond 30 degrees south, particularly the southern sector of the Indian Ocean. Again, I think there is a need to extend this work in that area, and we are trying to do that. Maybe it will take them some time. So you can see here we have extensively sampled this Indian Ocean, and sampling, when we are talking about, this is very special kind of sampling to avoid any trace metal contamination during sampling, during initial processing and measuring. And then measuring these trace metals at very low level, sometimes picomolar level. So that type of concentration with very precise measurement, and also when many of the instrumentation is not available in the market, so we have developed the not only the sampling technique, but also we have developed the measurement technique ourselves with the means very high accuracy and precision. And after doing all those things, we have produced huge amount of data. So I will start with the iron, which we have done in this area. And you can see here all the sections we have measured the iron. And before geotraces work, generally it was believed that iron is mostly coming from the dust, which is coming to, because dust is not there in southern, dust concentration is very, very low in the southern ocean. Iron in the southern ocean is very, very low. And that was the reason for HNLC. But when this work started, our own work, you can see here, iron, when we measured, huge differences there in the concentration of iron in different oceans. And you can see here, if you talk about this Bay of Bengal section, if you start with that, we have got in the intermediate water or even higher, lower water, means deep water, concentration of iron is very, very high. So oxygen minimum zone is playing a huge role, and it means there, first of all, remineralization. Because of remineralization, you are getting high concentration in intermediate water, but also the iron manganese hydroxide, which is coated on the particles, sinking particles, they are getting released because of change in oxidation state. And iron concentration is increasing in the oxygen minimum zone. Similarly, you see this, Arabian Sea coastal area, shelf area, actually, again, concentration is very, very high. Concentration, these sediments, the reducing sediments are supplying huge amount of iron to the water column. So that is again a very important source of iron, which had been overlooked earlier. And then if you see very important source, which we have discovered here in the Indian Ocean, you have this different hydrothermal regions or ridges. So this is the Carlsberg Ridge, then Central Indian Ridge, and then Southwest Indian Ridge, Southeast Indian Ridge. So we have tried to measure some of the ridges, and you can see here concentration on the ridges in some of the areas where I think we are suspecting to be a very huge plume. Concentration of iron is very, very high. Again, you see the Carlsberg Ridge concentration, the huge plume, I think is coming, and it is going even up to very high, means it is going up to almost 300 meter water depth. So it's means he's supplying not only to the deeper water, but the iron iron is coming up to the almost surface ocean, and which will be contributing significantly to the productivity. So this iron, hydrothermal iron, which was earlier supposed to be coming and getting precipitated immediately in the vicinity, that is not true. It is not only coming in the water column and traveling 1,000 kilometers, but even if it is coming in the surface water almost and contributing significantly to the productivity. That's outcome of this work which we have carried in the Indian Ocean, and also people have observed this in the other ocean like Atlantic and Pacific also. So this also, if you see some of the vents we have studied in the near Triple Junction, Kyrie and Edmund vent, which were already known vents. And in that area, if you see, the iron concentration is significantly higher, very, very high. It is going up to 20 nanomolar. And one of the very unique signature till now, which has been obtained only in the Indian Ocean, along the subduction zone of Sumatra and Java, where our Indian plate is subducting, in that area, also we are getting huge amount of iron in this particular area. So not only the hydrothermal activity, but the subduction zone processes where the water is going inside and interacting and coming back, that area is also supplying a lot of iron. So these are some of the new results which we have got. And this has really changed the understanding. So if you see what I was telling you, different hydrothermal activity. So these are the areas where these we are getting the very high supply of iron, particularly in the Carlsberg, in the Central Indian region, the Triple Junction, and even this Southwest Indian region, this subduction area, this area we are getting iron. So these iron, which was earlier almost overlooked, which was not known. And if you see the distribution we have sampled particularly this Arabian Sea and then subtropical Indian Ocean. So in 2 seasons. So one is in spring inter monsoon and fall monsoon. So these are the sample when it has been collected in spring, and these are the places where we have collected in the fall in monsoon. And you can see the concentration actually between these two, surface concentration I'm talking about. So you can see here surface concentration during the fall monsoon is significantly different. It means it is higher compared to the spring inter monsoon, despite the fact that we are getting more dust in the spring inter monsoon area. This Arabian Sea particularly, it is known that concentration in the spring of the dust fluxes in the Arabian Sea is higher. But despite the fact that dust is higher, concentration of iron is more in the fall inter monsoon, and this shows that of course this dust is one of the source, but that is not the only source. So there are something other process and other sources are acting in this area, which we'll be talking about. And if you also see this plot, actually there is a significant difference between the Arabian Sea, means Northern Indian Ocean, and the subtropical Indian Ocean. So as you are moving from subtropical Indian Ocean to Northern Indian Ocean, the concentration of iron is changing. It is continuously increasing towards Arabian Sea. Particularly equatorial and subtropical Indian Ocean, concentration of iron is significantly lower. And again here, dust is important, but water masses are also playing a huge role. Antarctic intermediate water, which is coming from Southern Ocean, I think they are bringing very less concentration of iron. I will be talking about that. And you can see here this plot, fluorescence has been plotted along with the iron concentration in top 200 meter. And you can see wherever fluorescence is high, productivity is showing the high, actually concentration of iron is low. So you can see they are getting consumed significantly. And if you see, actually there is a deepening of this fluorescence in the 2 seasons. They are varying. Actually, if you see it is more deeper in this spring compared to the fall monsoon. So productivity changing, the depth of productivity changing because of iron concentration. And here you can see some of the processes which we were talking about, why it is happening, concentration is very localized and all. So here I have plotted the nitrite, and with iron you can see some of this white contour is nitrite and the colorful is the iron. So some of the area where you have high concentration of iron, particularly in the oxygen minimum zone, there, particularly that upper oxygen minimum zone, we have high concentration of nitrate. So they are associated with the denitrification, and that process, there you are, where a nitrite is high, you are getting higher concentration of iron. So they are related to this oxygen minimum zone remineralization as well as the iron manganese hydroxide. Means change in oxidation state, making the iron dissolve in this area. So major part of that iron, or a significant part of the iron is in +2 state, which is correlating with the nitrite in oxygen minimum zone. So if you see the budget, when you are talking about the budget of iron in the Indian Ocean, particularly in the Arabian Sea, because Arabian Sea always talk about the iron limitation and also, and the main source is dust. So we try to calculate the different source, iron coming from different sources in the Arabian Sea, and here is the box diagram you can see. So major source which was supposed to be there in the for iron is atmospheric dust. So if you have taken certain solubility of this iron dust and dry deposition fluxes, if you have taken, so if you of the dust, so if you take iron fluxes, so iron fluxes is about 0.01 to 0.05 micromole per meter square per dry deposition we are getting. Based on our calculation, and the wet deposition is also very important. So that is almost 0.03 micromole per meter square per day. This is in the Central Arabian Sea we are talking about. Now, if you see, in addition to this dust, we are also, I have shown you the concentration in the coastal areas are significantly higher. So because the concentration is high, so horizontal advection, when water is moving from coastal area to open ocean, you know, the both in the from the eastern coast and western coast, water is means upwelled water in the Oman area, they are getting coming to the Central Arabian Sea. Similarly, from the Eastern Arabian Sea, water is going. So they will be carrying significant amount of this iron, and we have calculated this horizontal advection because of this flow. And you can see here from Oman shelf, huge amount of iron is coming. That is about 0.63 micromole per meter square day, which is coming to the Central Arabian Sea, Open Arabian Sea. Whereas from our eastern coast, the concentration or flux of iron which is going is slightly lower compared to the Oman coast. This is only about 0.04 micromole per meter square per day, which is coming from the west coast of India, that is Eastern Arabian Sea. In addition to that, actually, since concentration difference is there, the horizontal diffusion will also take place. But generally, we have estimated that horizontal diffusion fluxes from both the coast is significantly lower. That can be neglected. But one of the very important source, again, this Oman shelf particularly, they are very much prone to this upwelling. So vertical advection is taking place, and that estimate we have done, and iron which is given to this top 100 meter from the vertical advection is about 0.1 to 0.4 micromole per meter square per day, depending on the concentration and this upwelling rate. Diffusion, vertical diffusivity is also contributing to that, but not very 1 order of magnitude lower than the advection. So this is about 0.04 to 0.06 micromole per meter square. And so this is all the input which we are talking about, which is about 1.2 maximum it is becoming a micromole per meter square per day. And similarly, actually, one source is there, sink is also there. So there are basically two sinks, biotic removal and biotic removal. So biotic removal you have determined in the metal quota, cellular quota. So based on that, actually, carbon by particularly concentration, when we have tried to do that, actually it is giving iron by carbon. Based on that, we have calculated the flux which is going out of this box is about 0.07 to 0.64 micromole per meter square per day. And this is very important removal of iron which is happening in the top 100 meter. And abiotic sources, like this iron, because of oxic environment, they will be coated as iron manganese hydroxide on the particles, whether it is biogenic or lithogenic, and when they sink actually in oxygen minimum zone, they will be released, I was telling you. So they are also supplying significant amount of iron in this top, means they are removing the iron significantly, and that is about 0.1 to 0.5 micromole per meter square per day. So if you consider this input and output, almost they are balanced in the Arabian Sea, almost balanced. And if you take this total inventory of Arabian Sea open ocean iron concentration and this input or output, we have estimated the residence time. And you can see the residence time is coming about 0.1 to 1 year maximum in the Portic Waterman's top 100 meter. And I think that is very important, because earlier estimate was almost 2.5 years, 3 years. So this estimate is significantly lower compared to what earlier has been given. And these are based on the real data which we have measured in this area, and some of the calculation, some data we have taken from available resources. So now you can see here, because this residence time is low in top 100 meter, that is the main reason. If suppose the residence time is more than 2 or 3 years, so having seasonal variation in iron is not possible. And because now we are able to show that this residence time in the top 100 meter is significantly lower than 1 year, so they will be responsible for this seasonal variation, which I was talking about some time back, that it is changing from, say, spring to, there is a significant variation of iron concentration in spring and fall, intermonsoon. So it is going very well with this observation, what we have shown. And when we were talking about the iron limitation, so we have tried to calculate this iron limitation using the iron star and taking this formula, means whatever iron is there, and if you take the Redfield ratio of iron phosphorus, and based on phosphorus measurement, you take this relation between iron phosphorus, slope has been taken, and available concentration in iron multiplied. So this will be getting regenerated from the this productive material and iron organic material. And whatever is available, whatever we have measured, so if you take the difference, that talks about the iron, extra iron or iron deficiency. So you can see here, if it is less than 0, that area it means that area is facing a severe iron crunch deficiency. And also, if it is more than 0, it indicates that you have additional sources compared to this remineralization. So you can see here, particularly the hydrothermal areas, this is quite high. So iron star is very, very high. So, there is an additional source of iron from hydrothermal. Similarly, in the Carlsberg region also, but oxygen minimum zone, you can see you have significant of iron. So it could be either be supplied by the coast cell, or it could be also possible that it is coming because of this dissolution of iron manganese hydroxide. But the main important thing I would like to emphasize here, you see this pink color, so where it is going minus 0.25 and all. So this area is certainly showing this iron limitation. So these are you see this section you can see here. So in the south of equator, in equatorial region, this deep water which is coming, Antarctic intermediate water which is coming and getting swelled in the equatorial region further to the central Arabian Sea, southern Arabian Sea, they are getting upwelled. And these waters are having a low concentration of iron, and these are one of the very important factor which is contributing to the iron limitation. So this is happening in the subtropical Indian Ocean, equatorial ocean, as well as in the southern ocean. And similarly, this plot, if you see our fall inter monsoon. So again, in the if you see this area, particularly subtropical and western Indian Ocean, western Arabian Sea, again this F star, this is again very low, and this is showing this limitation of iron in this particular area. Again, it is because of this Antarctic intermediate water, which is bringing the very low concentration of iron, and they are again getting upwelled in this area and contributing to the iron limitation. And another area where iron area is limited, this is the Oman Basin, actually northwest of Murray Ridge. This particular area, iron, that Oman Basin, deeper water or even intermediate water concentration is very low, and that area is prone to upwelling. So whenever this water upwells, particularly Western Arabian Sea will be becoming iron deficient. So this upwelling of this deeper or intermediate water will create iron limitation in the Western. So these are the main reason for iron deficiency in this area. So this was the whole iron story. And zinc also had been measured, and main importance take home message for the zinc is low concentration of zinc in the oxygen minimum zone with respect to the open ocean. And it has been shown that zinc is getting lost in the oxygen minimum zone, either because of the what is happening local micro space in this oxygen minimum zone. Zinc is means you are creating a reducing environment in the water column itself, and because of that, zinc
sir, we are up about time.
Yeah, 6 minutes is there, sir. I'm a timer. I'm able to see that. Yes.
Oh, it's only up to 10 o'clock.
Okay, because I started. So 6 minutes it is showing in the screen. So I'll just finish within time.
Yeah, please.
So so zinc is getting lost because of this oxygen minimum zone activity. Locally, reducing condition is getting created, and zinc is sulfate to zinc sulfide. And once it is converted to zinc sulfide, even if the reducing condition goes, because it is very refractory, it will not dissolve back. So we are losing huge amount of zinc in this oxygen minimum zone in entire northern oxygen minimum zone of the northern Arabian Sea. Similarly, the manganese, if you see, the manganese again partly related to the this is the manganese profile where you have measured. So you can see here manganese is first controlled by the water masses wherever like Arabian Sea high salinity water, Persian Gulf water, Red Sea water is there, concentration of a little bit higher of the manganese, but it is also controlled by oxygen minimum zone. Here you can see this is oxygen minimum zone, and this is also again getting supplied from the self area. And this is very much depicted here. So where you can see this intermediate water column, wherever oxygen minimum zone is there, you are getting huge peak of manganese. Again, I think it is related to the water process I was talking about, dissolution of iron manganese hydroxide. This is also evident in all this process, and this compares very well with the Japanese people. One station they have measured in this area. So wherever oxygen is low, manganese is getting released in the water column. So this is our study as well as Japanese studies showing because of this change in oxidation state. So I think just I will show you another source which is happening, very important source of trace metal. Means, as you know, actually most of the trace metals continental supply is there, and they are going through the estuary. So estuary acts as a very important sometimes source or sometimes sinks. So here I will give you one example where trace metals are controlled by the estuary process. And this is we are talking about the neodymium, because neodymium isotopes are being used significantly for the water mass tracer. And here in the estuary, which we have taken one study all along this east coast estuary. So we have Ganga, Brahmaputra, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna. All these estuary has been measured. And you can see here one result which I am going to show about the neodymium isotope. Neodymium concentration. So here you can see this is a plot of neodymium when it is changing with salinity. So as you are moving from river mouth to the open ocean, 0 to 35 salinity, you can see the concentration is suddenly increasing significantly in the middle of the estuary, that is about 7-8 estuary. So concentration is becoming almost 100 to, it is going up to 3000. And this concentration is associated with increase in manganese concentration, decrease in oxygen concentration. In that area, you have huge amount of particles. And again, if you go to the open ocean, almost 29 salinity, again, it is increasing. So we have tried to see, and that is happening in all the estuary. Even in the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the case is slightly different because it is continuously increasing, and it is happening in the Krishna also. So we have tried to explain. This is the rare earth in the estuary. So you can see that this is the sample where concentration has increased significantly. So everywhere the same story, even if you measure the total rare earth concentration. So what we are telling that what is happening in the estuary is the particles, Ganga Brahmaputra particles which is coming to the estuary, they are getting coating with the iron manganese hydroxide and along with the neodymium. And when they are coming along with the sediment and a lot of organic matter, they are getting deposited in the estuary region. And because of time, it is getting reducing condition is getting created in the sediment and sediment at the sediment water interface. Because of this tidal pumping and tidal stress, this water is during high tide, these sediments are getting churned and the sediments are coming to the water column. During that time, huge amount of neodymium, which was dissolved again on the iron manganese hydroxide, which was there, they are coming back to the water column. They are getting injected, they are getting advected into the water column. So again, this particle interaction in the reducing condition, creating huge amount of trace metal, supplying a huge amount of trace metal to the pore water and hence to the water column, which is reflected by the low oxygen and high particle concentration, followed by the high neodymium and manganese. So this is the process which is acting in the estuary, and this is supplying huge amount of neodymium to this area. And you can see here, this neodymium which is getting released in the estuary is significantly much higher compared to any of the sources. Here atmospheric dust, you can see it is only giving 0.35 to 7 into 10 to the power 6 mole. And the Indonesian through flow supplying only 0.2 into 10 to the power 6 mole of neodymium, whereas the estuary release is 20.5, very huge. And if you use all this data and the inventory of the Bay of Bengal, so this residence time will be coming, it's coming about 1 to 2.5 years only, which was earlier supposed to be, sorry, it is coming only 80 to 100 days, almost 100 days neodymium residence time is there in the Bay of Bengal surface water. And that is the reason actually we are getting significant isotopic variability in the Bay of Bengal because of this low residence time, because the huge amount of neodymium is getting released in the water column due to this reduction condition. So here people have reported neodymium isotopic composition June, we have reported in November, and isotopic composition changes significantly along with the concentration. So this seasonal change again, because if it is 2 to 3 years, you cannot explain this. And since we have additional source, this residence time of neodymium is very low. And that is the reason actually it is changing seasonally it is changing isotopic composition, and hence this Bay of Bengal water may not be useful directly to track the water masses. So these are some of the important information I wanted to give. And now future is like this, we have studied a lot of trace metal, but now we have to see what is the impact of this trace metal on biology. So based on that, actually we have started a program to study the omics, proteomics or genomics and all those things, how they are responding to change in the trace metal, the area where the trace metal are a stress area, or we are getting more trace metal because of pollution. So how these omics and proteomics are reacting, and if we are able to do that, I think in future omics and proteomics will be telling everything about the trace metal and all. So that is the we are leading toward that. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.